Hey guys, welcome back to another sports stuff video, and today I'm going to be talking about overhated versus overrated. Now there's four players that I believe in the NFL are overhated. Now there's four players in the NFL that I feel are always being called overrated when I feel like they're actually being overhated. Those four people are Lamar Jackson, Michael Thomas, Cam Newton, and Jamal Adams. Now I'm going to be talking about each and every player and why a majority, not even a majority, there's a very loud minority of fans that go on Twitter, they go on their their tweets and they go, Lamar Jackson's a running back, Michael Thomas is slant boy, Cam Newton is washed, and Jamal Adams is blitz boy. I think it's very important to combat those haters that are very, very basic in their football fan knowledge. And I'm going to be going through each and every player and why I feel like they're actually being overhated rather than overrated. So if you guys do enjoy this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. Let's get into the video. Now, let's start off with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, at just age, 22? He was a first-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler, MVP. He threw for 36 passing touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, 9% at the touchdown percent to throw. He had a league-high 83 QBR, which is very good, and a 113 passer rates for the season. He had multiple perfect games that season. So to call Lamar Jackson just a running back is, one, wrong, and two, is hinted very deeply in racism. Now, the reason I jump to racism immediately is because in the NFL, the black quarterbacks have been overhated since the 90s. Charlie Ward is a great example of a black quarterback who is being told that you can't play quarterback in the NFL, that you're just a running back, you should switch to wide receiver, switch to tight end. Instead, Charlie Ward won the Heisman, and where did he get picked? The New York Knicks. I'm going to let that sit for a second. Charlie Ward, a black quarterback who won the Heisman in college football, got drafted by the NBA to the New York Knicks because the NFL would not let him be a quarterback. They said the same thing like they said to him about Lamar. You are not a quarterback. You're a running back. You're a wide receiver. You're going to switch to those positions. You're fast. You're mobile. Instead of the intelligence behind the quarterback position, they said, no. Your agility is what we want, And I think that's very rooted in just the seed of racism in the NFL and just sports world, that if you're a person of color, you're more fit for the athletic role rather than the intelligence role. I'm happy that we're seeing a new age of, there's a lot of black quarterbacks, there's a lot of black GMs, a lot of black coaches. It's really switching the narrative that, black people should not be in the bigger positions and I'm speaking mainly for the NFL, that black people should not be in bigger positions in the NFL. I see it a lot on Twitter where people go like, oh, Andrew Berry got hired by the Cleveland Browns. It's because he's black. They wanted the diversity part. No, it's because he was the best candidate out there. And as we've seen, Andrew Berry was the best candidate for the GM of the Cleveland Browns, as we've seen through their roster and drafts. So I think Lamar Jackson be called a running back is just watering down so much of his skill. I'm gonna play a quick 10-15 clip right now of an amazing throw from Lamar Jackson that I genuinely paused and was like, holy crap, I did not know he threw that. So as you can see in the clip, they're going up against the Tennessee Titans. He throws to the right side of the field, beautifully in between two defenders. And I think that's Willie Snead who caught that. But what an amazing throw. That is the only spot on the field that you can throw that ball and it's a completion. Anything else, it's either a interception or a incompletion. That is just an insane throw, and the accuracy needed, most quarterbacks in the league probably could not do. That is a handful of quarterbacks that I believe could make that throw on a regular basis. In his Super Bowl year, in his MVP year, he made those throws all the time. Now, yes, you can say they led the league in rushing since he's come into the NFL. That's just part of it, though. You got to remember that when you are able to run the ball as well as they do, it opens up the passing game. That's the same reason why teams like the Titans and the Browns, the play-action game is where the quarterback feasts. Lamar Jackson did that in 2019, did it in 2020 to a certain point. They did have the worst receiving core in the league, in my opinion, but they've upgraded it a lot in the draft and free agency. So the fact that in 2019, with a very weak receiver core, still he was able to put up 36 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And in 2020, he put up 26 touchdowns and 9 interceptions through the air. I believe that Lamar Jackson with this improved core can be even better. Now, I'm gonna be really interested to see what he can do in 5 years, because obviously running quarterbacks do have quarterbacks who are dual threat do not last long in the league. Russell Wilson is one of those rare quarterbacks that's still elite 8 years later after he was drafted. But that's because he had to shape his game up, and he had to start throwing more. You don't see Russell Wilson running 10 times a game, 15 times a game, leading the league in rushing as a quarterback. He does it when it's needed, but when he first came into the league, he ran a lot. But he started, morphing his game as he got older, just like Lamar Jackson's going to have to do, and started becoming more of a passing quarterback. Now, I'm very excited to see Lamar Jackson with a better wide receiver core this year, because I think a lot of the stats this year of him running, because it was out of necessity rather than want. There was a lot more of, oh my God, I literally cannot find an open receiver. No one can get open. I need to run the ball, or else we will not get this third down conversion. He rushed for 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns with an average of 67 a game. Asking a quarterback to average 67 on the ground a game is not winning football. Long term. Let me say it. Long term is not winning football. Another thing that you need to bring in with Lamar Jackson is that his offensive line has always been pretty much hurt. Last season, Ronnie Stanley went out. Orlando Brown switched from right tackle to left tackle. In 2019, I believe it was Orlando Brown who missed a couple of games. He's never really had a offensive line healthy for the entire season. I know a lot of quarterbacks don't have that. The Eagles literally deal with injuries all the time. The Cowboys and the Rams are another two examples that, when O-linemen go down, they start to struggle. But when you have a rushing quarterback like Lamar Jackson, it's going to be more profound. So the fact that Lamar Jackson has had the success that he's had while not having a receiver core that can break coverage and, actually get open slightly, and when they do get open, he throws dimes, that's more on Lamar Jackson than on anything else. That is pure skill. That's pure intelligence to know when to throw and when to not. He doesn't throw many picks. He's only thrown 18 picks in the NFL compared to 68 touchdowns. He's thrown 50 more touchdowns and interceptions so far in his 3-year career. That is insane. So I think to boil down that Lamar Jackson's a running quarterback and that he's not skilled because of that, or that he's overrated because of that, you don't watch football. He won MVP. He threw the most touchdowns in the league the year that he went All-Pro and Pro Bowl. You don't know what you're talking about in the NFL. It genuinely makes my blood boil, because as a Cleveland Browns fan, this man torches us every single year, okay? I know he's more than just a running quarterback who can't do anything else. So when you make that argument that he's a running quarterback and nothing more, I can just tell you don't watch football, and that your opinion is less than another person that I respect. Nick Wright, Emmanuel Acho, Shannon Sharp are 3 people that I really respect, because they are just unbiased. Hey, here's my biases, but I'm still going to talk about those teams in a negative light. I like Lamar Jackson. I wish he didn't run as much. I wish that he would sit back and throw the ball a little bit more. But I know he's doing it out of necessity rather than want, because all his wide receiver weapons have not been as good as other teams. So the fact that he's had the success that he's had just makes him even better in my mind. Moving on, we'll be talking about Michael Thomas, or as sadly a lot of fans are calling him now, is Slant Boy. To think that Michael Thomas only runs slants in the NFL, you're genuinely stupid. Genuinely, you're stupid. There's nothing else I can say. You're genuinely stupid. In 2019, he caught a NFL record 149 receptions for 1,700 yards. And if you watched any of those games, it was not only slants, and it was not majority slants. There was a lot of comeback routes, a lot of out routes. There was a couple deep balls that they would, either throw in with Taysom Hill or Drew Brees would throw it. So to hear constant slander on Michael Thomas, calling him Slant Boy, it just irks me, because that means that you only really... This is another thing that I really wanted to talk about towards the end of the video, but I'm going to bring it up a little bit. There's a lot of accounts where they call themselves NFL memes, and these casual fans who don't watch every single game, who aren't in the sports world like I am, or like a lot of people watching this video are. They only read NFL memes on Instagram, on Twitter. That's all. That's their football intake. So when they see NFL memes make a joke about Slant Boy and calling him that, that's what they're gonna consider him as, and it aggravates me because that is just ruining, in my opinion, the overall perception of a generational talent at wide receiver. The fact that he's never had less than 121 targets, even his rookie season, he had 1,100 yards on 92 receptions on 121 targets. His rookie season, that is impressive, let alone nothing else. That is impressive. That is the most that he averaged 12.4 yards a reception that year, the most in his career as a rookie. He's been great for 5 years. And so when you boil it down to, yes, he only runs slants. He can't run anything else. He doesn't have a route tree. He doesn't have Tyreek Hill speed. He doesn't have the greatest hands in the game. He's just a slot receiver who runs slants and gets a lot of catches that way. No, he has a crazy accurate route tree. Yes, he gets clamped up sometimes, but like every wide receiver has a bad game or two a year. Every wide receiver. Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, Odell Beckham, Tyreek Hill's had a bad game or two a year. Everyone has them. But those games, everyone profounds into his entire career. And it really makes me upset because if you had Michael Thomas on your team, you would not be taking Michael Thomas slander. That's the boiled down version of, if you had him on your team, you would not take trash like how you're constantly trashing on him. And that's how I just know that you don't watch football and that your opinion means less. Is because if he was on your team, you would be like, guys, stop. He doesn't just run slants. You not watch the game? No, because just like you, they don't watch every single game. Michael Thomas, obviously, is a 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. You have to be all-time great to be a 2-time first-team All-Pro wide receiver. In a league where wide receiver is one of the easier positions to draft nowadays because college schemes and NFL schemes are pretty similar now, to be a 2-time All-Pro, even when you're hurt, he only played 7 games and caught 40 balls this season because Drew Brees was hurt a lot. He was hurt a lot. He had a lot of injuries this season. To still average 11 yards a reception and get 438 yards, it's impressive. So when I hear so much Michael Thomas slander, it just makes me think that you go on Twitter, read NFL memes, go on your Instagram or your Facebook, whatever, and you do comment under posts like, "Oh my God, Michael Thomas is so bad. He's so overrated." No, he's not. He's a top 5 receiver in the league when he's healthy. He's a top 5 receiver. Put him on any team, he makes that quarterback better. Put him on any team, he makes that offense better. So when people don't research into like, oh man, let me look into his advanced stats. Let me see what he actually does. It makes me very upset. If you actually look into his advanced stats for like fantasy players, he takes 48 slot snaps of his receptions. That's only 14% of his receptions are from the slot. And from the slot usually means slants, obviously. And he runs 197 different kind of routes with 97% route participation. It genuinely just it hurts me to see dumb people talk about something that is very easily researchable, and you could easily just be like, hey man, I don't know much about it. I only watched one little thing. This is my opinion on Michael Thomas. Okay, I can do that. But that's the end of my rant on Michael Thomas. People say he's just a slot receiver who can run slants. Don't know what they're talking about. He's overhated based on only that because they see one joke and they just run with it. Moving on to Jamal Adams, one of the best strong safety box safeties in the league. Or, as people are starting to call him, Blitz Boy. Because if Slant Boy isn't creative, neither is Blitz Boy. Obviously, Jamal Adams is the best blitzing defensive back in the league. He's the best blitzing defensive back in the league. He's had 21.5 sacks in his career. And the fact that in only 12 games in 2020, he had 9.5 sacks is very impressive. Imagine if he played all 16 games. He might have had 10 plus sacks. Maybe 11 if he would have played all 16 games, which is very impressive because most defensive ends don't get that. But if we actually look into his stats, he has 83 tackles, 11 TFLs on 14 QB hits. 59 of his 83 tackles are solo, by the way, meaning that he's not just a box safety. He can cover tight ends. He can cover slot receivers. He can tackle running back to the line of scrimmage. Without Jamal Adams, their like run defense of the Seahawks would not have worked. Whenever he was healthy, and so was Carlos Dunlap, that run defending run defense of the Seahawks was very good. Like, no one could get large runs off on him because of that run defending. And again, in the passing game, he's not the greatest, right? He's average to below average in the passing game. But when you put him in a system where you say, hey man, you're gonna be the blitzing defensive back who plays a line of scrimmage and can hit really hard at slot receivers as they're coming across the middle. You can cover tight ends. You can stop the run. He's stellar. Genuinely is stellar at that role. He has 7 forced fumbles in his career, 2 interceptions, 28 pass deflections. 28 pass deflections as a strong safety, as a box safety who basically only plays in the box and doesn't really rotate that much is very good as well. So when you boil down, again, I'm going to keep saying boil down. So when you boil down all of his stats down, he's just a blitzer, it's really disingenuous to what he can actually do. He is the traditional box safety that can blitz and is very good at it. Every team could use a Jamal Adams. If you had a very good coverage free safety and very good zone, sometimes man-to-man, but very good zone corners, Jamal Adams would be the perfect strong safety for you. You put your corners up in zone, have your free safety roam, like, hey, Jamal, run at him. You do you, man. You can be a sub linebacker. Run at him. And that's another thing he brings to the table, is that when you play nickel and dime defenses, Jamal Adams is the best safety in that kind of scheme as a linebacker. There's John Johnson, Jamal Adams. I wouldn't put any other safety. I wouldn't rather have any other safety in the league other than Jamal Adams and John Johnson III as my sub linebacker in a dime and nickel package. No one else. No one else I can think of. Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed. Yeah, Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed, Jamal Adams, I think are some of the 3 of the best box safeties when you play nickel and dime defense I would have on the field. So to have 2 Hall of Famers who are considered to be 2 of the best ever, to be in the same category as them, I think already is a great deed to Jamal Adams. So to say that he's just a blitzer is just disingenuous and shows that you have little comprehension for defensive schemes and players' roles in those defensive schemes. So again, he's overhated, not overrated. And finally, Cam Newton. Now, Cam Newton, I can agree, is a little overrated, but not to the point people say he is. I don't think Cam Newton is a franchise quarterback, but I think he would be the best backup to Lamar Jackson. Genuinely, if his season with the Patriots goes as bad as I think it's gonna go, just because I don't believe in Cam Newton as a starter, he needs to go to Baltimore and be the backup and be the league's best backup, because him and Baltimore's scheme, stellar, genuinely stellar. He is a better Robert Griffin III, and Robert Griffin had somewhat okay games when he was the back, not good games. They were somewhat okay, but Cam Newton as a backup to Lamar Jackson would be very good in my opinion. Would be very good, very good. Why? I just feel like Cam Newton is a little bit overrated because that's the only scheme I think he could be successful in at this point in his career. Not because he's a bad player, but just because all the injuries, all the surgeries, his age is catching up to him. So I will agree he's a little overrated. But I feel like the league at this point is not rating him as a top 15 quarterback. I'd probably put him as the 28th best starter. I wouldn't rather have Sam Darnold. I wouldn't rather have Daniel Jones. I wouldn't rather have Big Ben. Yeah, he's about the 28th, 27th best quarterback in the league. And that's okay. That's what he's at in his career. But if he was the backup to Lamar Jackson, or a backup to a Kyler Murray, he would be the top backup in the league. So I think that's where the league is, and that's where the perspective, in my opinion, and most NFL fans, is of Cam Newton. He's an MVP in the past. In 2015, he was the MVP. You know, he fell off after that season, and that's okay. It happens. You know, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer or anything. He's going to be one of the guys that, yeah, Cam Newton had a very good 3-4 years in this league where everyone considered him a top 15 quarterback. But after that point, you know, he just kind of fell off. had years in New England, didn't really play amazing. He was okay. He did lead the league in touchdowns as a quarterback, I believe. I believe that's what it was. Didn't he lead the league in rushing touchdowns as a quarterback? Let me see here real quick. Rushing touchdown, 12. Yeah. He led the league in rushing touchdowns at 12 as a quarterback with 592 yards. So he did his job. He did what we expected him to do. Not be a great passer with 6 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, but be an okay rusher, especially in the red zone, where you can get those, 10 to 15 touchdowns. But yeah, again, I can agree somewhat that he's a little overrated, but he's definitely overhated because he just people just don't assume that he's even quality enough to be in the league when he actually is. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. As I said, Lamar Jackson, Michael Thomas, Jamal Adams, and Cam Newton are some of the 4 players in this league who are overhated for no reason, and they're memed for no reason. If you guys enjoy, please leave a like. I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.